On January 3, 2026, the U.S. basically said, we're taking the wheels in Venezuela. President Nicolás Maduro and his wife were grabbed by United States forces and flown to New York to face drug-related charges, leaving the country wondering who's really in charge. With Vice President Delcy Rodríguez stepping in as interim president and the world watching like it's a reality TV or a Sylvester Stallone movie. Venezuela's political drama is indeed far from over. Well, let's break this down a little bit, and here is what you should know.
President Nicolás Maduro and his wife were captured by U.S. forces and flown to New York to face U.S. drug-related charges on January 3, 2026, after the U.S. launched a large-scale military operation in Venezuela. Relations between Washington and Caracas have been hostile for years over oil ideology and alleged drug trafficking. The United States government had repeatedly sanctioned Maduro's leadership, accused it of corruption and narco-terrorism, and targeted Venezuelan vessels before the raid. Tensions peaked as Trump claimed Maduro's rule was illegitimate and harmful to U.S. interests.
After Maduro's removal, Vice President Delcy Rodríguez was declared interim president by Venezuela's Supreme Court and backed by parts of the military. Though her legitimacy is contested and she initially rejected U.S. control, Rodríguez has since expressed willingness to cooperate with the U.S. under diplomatic terms. Meanwhile, yesterday Maduro pleaded not guilty in court. Joining us now to discuss the implication of these events is global affairs analyst Ejike Okpa. Good morning and thank you for joining us all the way from Texas. Thank you for staying awake for us.
Good morning, guys, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year as well.
Thank you.
All right, so there have been different arguments. Initially, we did see that there was celebration in Venezuela. However, what we then later saw is those who were celebrating seemed to not know what the future held for them, especially as the U.S. had declared that it will now take control of Venezuela. Some have called this an act of naked aggression. I mean, if Donald Trump can invade Venezuela, what stops Xi Jinping from taking over Taiwan or Putin, from invading Ukraine? So the question is, I mean, without saying, we sort of, having had conversations with you before now, we typically know where you lean in terms of Donald Trump and his policies. But what is your take on this latest action? Do you support it? Do you think it was the right way to go? Is there a better way this could have been done?
When we were taking WIAC, they give you multiple choices, all of the above listed below. You have to choose one. As you know, I'm a Republican. I support Trump. Not that I support everything he's done or he's going to do, but in this particular case, let's just look at what the facts are as opposed to opinion. January 15th, 2024, shortly before Trump was sworn in, the Biden administration has a bounty for the arrest of Maduro for $50 million. I think with the reaction you're having from the Democrats is because they couldn't do it and Trump did it. So that being by the way, this is not the first time America has done something like this. Manuel Noriega was captured and tried and sentenced in the U.S. at the time before he was returned to Panama. Of course, we know how he ended for Saddam Hussein. But go back to the turn of the century in 1901. The first time America did something like this was when, the president of Philippines was captured. And that was Emilio Aguinaldo. So, countries have to do certain things. And I mean, let's even look at this. Obasanjo facilitated the arrest of Charles Taylor in 2006 and handed him over, and now he's sitting in jail in The Hague or somewhere for crimes or whatever the allegations were. So, sometimes it becomes, a mutual necessity for countries to do what it is they think, that is counter or against, their national interest. Venezuela for some time has been this sort of, thorn in the flesh, and America warned it, from the time even Obama was there. They said, hey, watch it, let's do this, let's talk. And he felt, hey, I can do it. And then when the push comes to the shove, his own military didn't even defend him. There wasn't even any resistance. Okay, people talking about China and Russia. Didn't they have the intelligence? A delegation of Chinese were in Caracas, hours before this happened. How come, China didn't send the military resources and, to do what? To protect their own trading partner or their own friend. So the guy's in jail. He was arraigned yesterday. He said not guilty. The next court appearance is in March. And then, the court process has started. If anybody wants him out, go to court, because nobody's going to come in here to rescue him. He's now in jail.
I mean, if I hear you correctly, you're blaming China for not stepping in to protect their business counterpart, as opposed to the person who actually launched the aggression. But I'll have you respond to that when we come back from this break.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central, and we're currently looking at the unprecedented events that took place in Caracas a few days ago when the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, was kidnapped by U.S. Special Forces and flown to New York, where he's currently standing trial on drug-related charges. And we have with us a Republican, Mr. Ejike Opa, who is a global affairs analyst, to help us unpack the events of that day and its implications. Mr. Opa, before we went to the break, my colleague did ask you a question about the events of the day, and you seem to support it. My question to you is that under international law and the United Nations Charter, does the United States have any legal justification for conducting a unilateral military operation to seize a sitting head of state on a foreign soil with his wife? And does this not represent a clear breach of Venezuelan sovereignty? It was discussed at the United Nations Security Council yesterday. I know you did mention the president of Saddam Hussein and Manuel Noriega, but this just takes it a notch higher.
Well, I mean, you use the word unprecedented, and I wanted to say that this is not unprecedented. It's happened before in circumstances very different. And again, Trump wasn't the one that issued the bounty on Maduro. Previous administrations did it. They just somehow either stepped it down or didn't take it as a serious case. But he came in, and since, he's been in office less than 1 year, because it's going to be 1 year on the 20th of this month. But the point is that he reached out to him and said, hey, you gotta shape up or shape out, or he has an opportunity for you to resign. And ego got in his way. He over-exaggerated his capacity to resist, or he thought, whomever the partners are, either domestic or international, were going to come to his rescue, but they didn't. And so, international law, I'm always saying, which international law? Where you go, this is medicine after death. So you're going to take America to court, or which court? You're going to now come in and stage and, internal rescue to grab him and free him from the prison. All those is more like waiting for the sun to rise from the west. They ain't going to happen. There are possibilities, but this is highly improbable. So the thing is, what lessons is going to be learned? Can this thing happen again? I don't know. I wouldn't say it will happen again. The world politics and sovereignty is always in flux. You look at what is going on in Africa, and again, I gave the example of Charles Taylor. Obasanjo facilitated his arrest, and he's in jail now. Did ECOWAS jump up and condemn Obasanjo? Did AU do that? No, nobody did that. Everybody kept quiet, more like a dog with his tail behind the legs, and they moved on. So people are going to have a reaction one way or the other. Some of them are happy, some of them are not happy. The point is, sovereignty matters and makes more sense when the leadership of a particular country is making the effort to make sure that citizens of that particular country are enjoying what it is they can. But when you don't do it, then you open yourself up for a sucker punch. You just look at that expression. Nobody's going to come into your home if you take care of your own business. Yeah, every country is a home.
Yeah, Mr. Ejike Opa, thanks for your submission. But, doesn't this send a precedent. The United States often talks about the international rule-based orders, but by breaking this, it does smirk of hypocrisy. And in the case of Charles Taylor of Liberia, he was granted some form of amnesty. He was in Nigeria on exile, and then President Obasanjo did facilitate his arrest many years later. That's totally different from what has happened.
No, it's not totally different because
okay. But my point is, doesn't this set a precedent that, you know, might is right, and China can tomorrow go into any other country and say, I don't like the way you're governing, and you know, remove that head of state? It will make the world a lawless place. We will be back to the days of the Wild Wild West.
The world has always had experience of lawlessness, but the thing is, you know, who has the big stick to whack somebody if they go astray? So if China wants to do it, China is next to Taiwan, and all these years they've been wanting to, but let them do it. You remember when Speaker Nancy Pelosi flew over to Taiwan, and China said, "Oh, we're going to bomb you." They didn't do it. So, you know, we do all the permutations. We can analyze this thing to death. The point is, what happens to Maduro now that he's in jail? Would he get a fair trial? And who is going to have? He's going to have access to lawyers because his next court appearance is in March. So he's going to build a team, and this team are going to be American lawyers as well as those, if there are Venezuelan ones who want to join in that legal fight, they should do it. And then if he's found not guilty for the charges that are leveled against him, then he will be released. And then because the American government cannot say, oh no, you have to convict him based on our wishes. He's going to be convicted on the evidence against him, and that evidence is he is a narco terrorist, and he thought he was going to get away with it, but he didn't.
But you're saying he's going to be tried before the U.S. court based on the evidence found, and can a party be a judge in its own course? The U.S. here has already arrested him. They're bringing him to be tried in a U.S. court. The United Nations Charter had given two conditions in which a country can respond with military force or attack, maybe not attack, but yes, use military force against another sovereign nation. One, where there's a resolution by the United Nations Council. Yes, authorization of a UN Security Council resolution. And secondly, in self-defense. In this case, there's been accusation of narco-terrorism. And UN, if you go back again to when they were denouncing the invasion of Panama, they had said that this should be handled as, they don't count this as an attack in this case. And even if you look at the details of where the drug is coming from, is it really coming from Venezuela and the likes, can you really consider that an attack against the U.S.? So you are saying now that they're bringing him to court in the United States. Is the U.S. a party in its own cause? Is he a judge in its own cause?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Our UN has no effect here. US is a toothless barking dog. They can't do anything. If they had intelligence, they should have offered that intelligence to Maduro and facilitated his exit to a peaceful country. So when you keep injecting UN, they can't do nothing. You know, they can't do nothing. So I'm telling you, the shit has hit the fan. Everybody's taking a cover. Let's see what happens with the court. Like I said, he's been charged. He wasn't charged. It's not a court martial. He's not in a U.S. military detention. He is in a civil court, and he has the right to now go in and make his case and defend himself, defends the allegations, and he's going to have access to lawyers, wherever those lawyers come from, provided they have the privilege to practice in an American court. They can go make a case on his behalf. But until that happens, again, between now and March, he's going to be sitting in jail. He's not even going to be granted a bail. So, again, people inject UN Security Council. There are 5 of them, out of, the countries, 100 and, the world's 100 and something nations, only 5 decide what happens. If you don't, we keep talking about UN. If African nations, 54 of them are the largest contingent in the UN member nations, why don't they just say, hey, this doesn't favor us, we're not going to be members? But every year they troop to New York to participate in the General Assembly and look like kids, who's going to get instruction from the principal. Again, these are things, when you submit, you get subdued. And that's what this is. The world order has never been the same. You read the book Animal Farm. All animals are equal. Some are created more equal than others, either by design or default. America happens to be that animal that is greater than most other animals. Whether we like it or not, it is what it is. We have to deal with it. But I'm saying the way to deal with this and curtail this sort of nuisance is for country leadership to be more responsive to their own people. You don't go beating your chest, or you don't go to a war, with bow and arrow when has a better weapon system.
Mr. Ajike, don't you think that if this was about the drugs, it would have been handled differently? But here again, we do hear the President of the United States say that the oil that belongs to Venezuela is now belonging to the United States. The oil belongs to the United States. How is that possible? After all, I mean, this is it's not.
Look, I understand the sentiments. I understand the feelings. Nobody wants their own, father, assuming their father is president of a country, taken. But the point I'm trying to make here is, it is medicine after death. We can't undo what has already been done.
Why? So are you saying? Sorry to butt in again, because we're out of time. I just want to try and put all my questions all in one. So are you saying that it is the norm? It is normal because tomorrow, if this happens to another country, are we going to say that, yes, because it has been a precedent, therefore it is normal for someone to come into your country and rightly take what belongs to you and says, listen, this is mine now?
America never said the oil of Venezuela belongs to them. America is the most invested company in Venezuela production. Oil was founded in Venezuela in 1992. You go back to that history. China wasn't even there. What was China in 1922? So when all these latter-day saints show up and begin to, turn their finger at America, fine. But the point is, America does what America does, good or bad, and then we deal with the consequences after the fact. This year we have a midterm election. If people don't like it, Trump still has 3 years, perhaps 1 month or something to go, but if we decide what he's doing is not good for what America wants to do, then, we vote more democracy into power, and then they will start to frustrate him. But, until that happens, again, let's deal with what has happened. Let's watch, what is going to be the fate of Maduro in the court system. Maybe this time, hey, somebody might say, all these charges shouldn't even be brought to court, and they let him set him free. A judge has the right to do it, but the evidence is the evidence. Let him again go make his case. If you guys haven't read the book, there's a book called Make Your Case. This is how to win, argument, persuasive argument. It's one of the best books I've ever read. It's not just beating your chest and having an opinion, make your case. And when you make your case, be factual, be objective, and remove all the sentiments and the emotions that often
Talking about making one's case, as we wrap up this conversation, the United States has a history of invading other countries. In 2003, the Republicans did invade Iraq. In 2003, led to the death of millions on the excuses of weapons of mass destruction. And no weapons of mass destruction have been found till today. And another Republican government in President Donald Trump did invade a sovereign nation, kidnapped his head of state and his wife under the excuse of narco-terrorism. And we know that most of the fentanyl that comes into the United States comes in from Colombia, Mexico, but the president, being as bold as he is, has come out to say, look, they have big oil, we're going to take the oil, we're going to run that country. Under what authority does the United States have to do this? And do they also have the moral justification to look at a country like Russia and say what you're doing in Ukraine is bad when they're committing the same crime? Doesn't this smack of hypocrisy?
Your questions are more like, PhD dissertation, and we don't have enough time for it. But while you were saying what the Republican presidents have done, you skipped the fact that, Gaddafi was taken during Obama's time, a Kenyan American. Okay, he was taken and he got killed. And you saw the reaction that the Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Clinton, did. You know, again, I'm telling you that, you know, America doing what America just did has been 125 years. 1901 was the first time. And you can go Google that, you can go read it up and see what it is. My point again is that I don't speak for any American president, but certain nuisance, you know, needs to be dealt with. It's not a one-time thing. You know, the world leadership is always in flux. One thing can pop up and it calls for justification. Even sometimes you go against the moral order to make sure things happen. Hey, didn't you know, America just had an airstrike in Nigeria? The first time under Tinubu. Where is Tinubu? Has Tinubu said anything about it? He issued statement. He's not even in the country. He's outside of the country. So, you know, again, look at this stuff. Every country is a home, and whoever is the leader of that household needs to be more responsive to the people.
All right,
it's not good at pointing fingers and looking for some kind of, you know, apologies and sympathy. The world does not go on sympathy. The world goes on strategy and strength. If you don't have it, you're going to become a subject of submit to be subdued, and it's too bad. That's just an animal form.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Mr. Ejike Okpa. We've run out of time, unfortunately, but we'll look forward to having a continuation of this conversation. We'll follow the developments and look at it from a different perspective.
And we do appreciate your straight talking. I mean, no sugarcoating. Yeah, just as it is.
Right,
and you know, guys, I love you guys. I keep saying it. You are the best thing. You wake me up in the morning. You give me this energy boost. I don't drink coffee, but I get an energy boost each time I talk with you guys. So do it often and do it always.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okpa. Thank you. Do have a wonderful rest of the night over there. All right.